All right. Welcome to the franchise time machine. We're starting a little earlier than normal today. Ezra Denny is wrapping up his stream, and he was kind enough to stall for me a little bit so I could go ahead and get started. Um, T Boom, where are you? You are in the franchise time machine. Hey, you must have done a good job with that survey because I had some survey results before Laptop Hound shared the survey link in his stream. So we got a bunch more after that, but you had said you were going to share it, and I did notice that we had some responses. I'm assuming those came from whatever you did with the survey link. So thank you for that. So we're going to do a continuation of that strategy presets sim. I thought the results were really interesting, but I think they need um, a little more confirmation before we can actually say, "Oh, you put in the main Discord. Thank you. That's a great idea." You know what? I should have thought of that, but I'm glad you did. And PBE. That's a great place. Yeah, thank you. That was great. In fact, let me see how many more responses we got today. It is crazy how much reach Laptop Hound has. As soon as he shared it, we got a bunch more responses coming. Yeah, franchise time machine. All right, so yeah, I would like to do a Billy Bean tribute sim, but I usually need the day to think about how to do it. Um, and I didn't have enough time to. I did do a quick search of BREF, and Billy Bean and Glenn Burke would be interesting, but I need to figure out a way to make it work well. Because I don't want to do it and then have it be like they're terrible because their stats weren't that good, and frankly, their stats weren't that good. Um, so I need to figure out a way to do it that is more of a tribute and not just like them getting crushed in 2023. That would not be fun. So, so instead, I thought we'd continue the um, the experiment from last night. I thought the results were interesting and promising. So, so yeah, I'm gonna do that instead. That way, I'll have a little. Ezra Denny, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it. I enjoyed your stream as always tonight. Also, appreciate you educating me on Billy Bean. Not that Billy Bean, but the elder Billy Bean, and his passing, but also what he did for baseball, um, and to make it more inclusive uh, and welcoming for gay baseball players. I did want to do a tribute sim for both Billy Bean and Glenn Burke, but I need time to figure it out because I was looking at baseballreference.com, looking at their stats, and if I just threw them together onto a team, they would get crushed because their stats frankly aren't that good. So, hey, EBC and NYC2, thank you for the subscription. 2 months. I truly appreciate it. I When I started this, I did not think anyone would ever subscribe. So this is a very pleasant surprise. So I am still going to think about how to make a an interesting, fun Billy Bean tribute stream. Because what I did not want to do is throw them into 2023 and just have them get crushed. So that would not be a good tribute. If EVC and NYC2 falls asleep while making slides, and maybe while listening to this stream, maybe we can subliminally make him have crazy dreams tonight. Um, so, so I thought I'd just continue with my originally planned programming, and then I will noodle on how to make a interesting Billy Bean tribute sim. Um, I did look into how many baseball players had come out. None have been out during their playing careers, but there were there's an article I found with about a dozen who had come out after their careers. Unfortunately, I think only three had played in the major leagues, and so most were minor leaguers. And we haven't had great success importing major leaguers into OOTP. They get severely nerfed. Um, so yes, I'm going to think about how to do this in a interesting way that results in like a fun sim and not a crushing. What is the EVC? I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. ASMR slides, I got that part. Oh crap, there is a possum along the outfield wall of Dodger Stadium, I think on the field. Oh, you must be watching the game. And there's a possum on the field? That's amazing. That's the kind of thing that does not happen enough in it's not rendered enough in OOTP. I've never seen a possum in OOTP. Yeah, wildlife. I don't think I've ever seen any kind of wildlife in OTP. That would be a good ad. No birds getting killed by Randy Johnson. Nothing like that. Uh, yeah, so we're gonna continue. So what we've been working on. Oh, Ezra Dane saw catcher's interference tonight. I think recently I saw a game that had multiple catcher interferences, which I had never seen before. Um, so I was listening to Ezra's stream as I was firing up my stream, and I noticed he was puzzled by the presence of Whitey Herzog on the title page. So the reason he's on there is, let me take a step back. We've been working on um, creating a test environment, which is a league of completely average players. Yes, the White Rat. Which is funny because I've been referring to this test environment as the White Lab Rat of OOTP because the reason they use one of the reasons they use white lab rats in scientific testing is they are genetically identical, and so you're eliminating a bunch of potential variables. And so when you do testing on them, your independent variable can be like the only variable because everything else about the test subjects is the same. And so the white lab rat, I didn't even make this connection until Ezra Benny mentioned it, but it's kind of fitting that Lady Herzog is on the cover. So once we built this league, and chat has been super helpful because I left in a bunch of stuff that I had not standardized because I didn't think it was important. And frankly, one of them was super important, ground ball percentage, and I had just ignored it. And as a result, I figured as long as I'm going to make that right, I should just make everything standardized. So heights, weights, service time, days of professional experience. In addition to all the ratings that you would think would matter, I standardized everything I could see in the editor function. So yeah, so we can actually look to see what that looks like. So the whole idea, the reason to have a league like this is so that we can change one thing per team and play the teams against each other and see which thing makes the most difference in wins and losses. So, in case people and there are 88 people here. We usually don't have that many, so many of you Even if you're away from keyboard, have probably not seen this. But for the pitchers, for example, and if this is the editor function in the base game, if you haven't used it, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. You can change almost anything about a player. So here's what we did. Everyone has the same stamina. Everyone has the same hold runners. Everyone has the same velocity. Everyone gets the same 4 pitches, 400 rating. Everyone has the same raw movement score, control score, pitching BABIP, even ground ball percentage. We standardized all that. And we gave everyone a 1.0 right-left split. Now, we did have to make some changes. We did have to deviate from that a little bit when we get to the relievers. Oh, and they're named average starter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we get to the relievers, you may have heard in OOTP, when you move a pitcher into the bullpen, they get a stuff boost. And so, and they also have typically only use their top 2 pitches. So, all the relievers in this league are fastball slider pitchers. And because of that boost, we had to tick down their raw movement to 400 instead of 425 for the starters. In order to keep the stat line here, the expected stat line, kind of similar. Or down here, sorry, down here. But other than that, they should. Oh, and their stamina is reduced. So the relievers have a stamina of 50, the starters have a stamina of 125, and the closers have a stamina of 25. Similar thing with the batters, right? The batters all have, again, same height, same weight. Oh, everyone's right handed. There's no righty lefty. Now, that might be a problem. It, it might be that we need to actually include righties and lefties, in which case, um, I'd like to make exactly half the rosters right-handed and half the rosters left-handed. Now, even that might not be correct because the league is not half left-handed. But I mean, I think you get what I'm going for, though. I'm trying to make everything the same. Now, they all started with 250 service days, but this is near the end of the season, so the service days from the sim are now in here. And 400 ratings for all batting. Okay, VC, have a good night. Um, Yeah, what I did is like each team got a different strategy slider, and we were interested to see which strategy slider would dominate the others. Given the players are all identical, so only the strategies would differ. And so fielding, we tried to make that all average. Now you might wonder, why is 400 average for batting ratings when the range is 1 to 550? Right? Why isn't it 275, which is half of 550? And the reason is 1 to 550 is for all baseball players. And when you look at, let's say, the 2023 uh, run environment, the average for most of the hitting ratings is around 400. And the reason for that is major leaguers occupy the top part of that 1 to 550. The 1 to 550 has to have room for minor league players, college players, and I think maybe in high school players. And so that's why 400 is the major league average, roughly. And so that's why I did 400 everywhere here. We even standardized hit by pitch rate, um, all the secondary ratings like running speed, bunting, and so on. And then for fielding, so there are catchers, infielders, and outfielders in this league. All the infielders get 125 ratings across the board, and they get maximum experience at both at first base, second base, third base, and shortstop. Now that's a little unrealistic, but I didn't want to have to deal with like trying to make sure every team had enough players that could play shortstop and third base and second base. So all the infielders are basically interchangeable and can play all 4 infield spots. Same thing for the outfielders, right? They're all rated for center field, left, center, and right field. So it's as average as we could get. So that's and so to test it, the one of the first tests we ran was let's test all these strategy presets. So when you go to set your strategies, right? You probably even if you play perfect team or base game, you've probably set strategies for your team, right? And you can do your own sliders or you can use one of the presets, right? And there are one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight of them. I don't count unorthodox because that's just a random setting. And so we have 8 teams in the league. I thought this is a good way to test out the environment because each team, the only differentiator for every team is just what strategy they're running. Otherwise, their players are identical. Identical attributes, identical height, identical weight, everything's the same. Even the ballpark factors are set to 1. And but we went into knowing like one season sim is not going to be statistically significant. And frankly, even if we do 2 more tonight, that's still not statistically significant. You would have to do hundreds or thousands, right, to have anything meaningful. And frankly, you may want to do a series of head to heads, right, and run them as kind of like a Monte Carlo experiment. And like with n equal, like when I used to do Monte Carlos for work, I used to set n to 10,000, right, and just run the simulations 10,000 times. But I mean, the goal is to learn something, but really it's kind of to just test the test environment and to have fun. And so I thought the first experiment was fun. But the reason the cover sheet looks like this is uh, one of the strategy settings is small ball. And when I think of small ball, I always think of Whitey Herzog's Cardinals teams from the 80s. Lots of stolen bases, lots of bunting, lots of hit and run. And two of the settings are sabermetric and moderate sabermetric. And so I always think of Bill James. That's who's on the right. And so that's why they're on the cover. Um, Now, Bill James never managed a team, but I think he had a big influence on how people think about baseball. I used to get his book every year and read it cover to cover multiple times. Uh, it's why I'm still a fan of Phil Bradley and Brian Dayette, even though most people don't know who those players are. It's because he wrote about them, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Um, so in an attempt to get to slightly less small sample size, I wanted to run this simulation back. But here's what happened the first time we ran it. So the interesting thing, well, actually, let's go back to the list. There's something I want to show you about the list. So of these strategies, 6 of them are related. Or I should say, 6 of them are 3 related pairs. There's small ball and moderate small ball, sabermetric and moderate sabermetric, and tactician and moderate tactician. And I thought they should be separated from each other. Because I didn't want them kind of knocking each other out. And then traditional and balanced, they're kind of the 2 oddballs, so we would separate those. And then we name the teams based on the strategy they're running so we could, at a glance, see who is doing what. Right? So there's a tactician Rangers, a sabermetric Mariners, and so on. And the interesting thing is, if you look at both the NL and the AL, the tacticians and the sabermetrics and the moderate sabermetrics and the moderate tacticians are the top 2 teams in each league. So at first glance, it seems, well, those 2 or variations of those 2 are the dominant strategies. But I think on the NL side, again, this is a data point of one, right? They each played 162 games, but this is one simulation. You could say there's probably a significant split between sabermetrics and tacticians, who are the top two in the league, the only two over 500, separated by 5 games, where there's another gap of 14 games to the other two strategies in the National League, right? Small ball and traditional. But when you go to the AL, yes, tactician and sabermetrics came in first and second, but there's not much of a split. The whole AL is only separated by 2.5 games. So you could probably say tactician, sabermetrics, balanced, and small ball in the AL are not statistically did not have statistically significantly different outcomes in that. And so while they did finish 1 and 2, it's not uh, in meaningful enough of a way that you can clearly say, yes, those two rose to the top, the way you kind of can in the National League. And again, in the National League, though, it's one sample. And so that's why we're going to do a couple more. If the variance of these two strategies keep rising to the top, then I think we're onto something. Um, I think also, since we're going to go through the trouble of running some more sims, I do think we want to mix it up a little bit and maybe um, have tacticians and moderate sabermetrics together, and moderate tacticians and sabermetrics together. So kind of just like do a little flip flopping within the top two. But I do think we want to keep the two separate sabermetrics separated and the two um, tacticians separated. Even the fact that small ball came in last in both sims, I don't think you can say that it's the worst strategy. Be- Partly because it's just one sample set, but also because in one of the leagues, the league was just too tight to say any one team was better or worse than the others in that league. So while I don't think we can get the definitive results in one more night of this, I think we can get a few more interesting data points. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And in the meantime, I will be thinking about how to do a fun, interesting uh, Billy Bean tribute sim. It's not quite as simple to come up with an idea like it was with Willie Mays. Like Willie Mays was so good, just bringing X number of Willie Mazes onto a team in 2023 was going to be amazing. Um, that's not the case with the statistics that Billy Bean or Glenn Burke put up. So we're going to have to be a little more creative. I liked Ezra Denny's suggestion of we could do Franks and Beans and maybe do the two Billy Beans, one with the E at the end, one without, because there are lots of great Franks that could make that team really good, like Frank Robinson, Frank White. Um, so I think that could be a way to do it. But then the focus is going to become the Franks because they're going to be the ones carrying the team. So even that might not be ideal. But anyway, let's do this sim, another version of this sim. The good thing is I've created a quick start for this, so the setup is going to be pretty quick each time. So this is Average League version 4. So there's version 1, which we standardize the most obvious ratings, like avoid K and stuff like that. And then it was pointed out to me that the stadiums might be an issue. So version 2 was just we didn't change the stadiums, we just made the factors 1. Um, Here, I'll show you in the game once we load it up how you can do the stadium factors. So we're going to load up, and what did I call this sim? Hold on, I forgot what it's called. So let's go to load game, strategy playdown. It's going to be strategy playdown 2. Are you guys familiar with the concept of playdowns? or the term play down. Okay, because I know it from curling, but I didn't know if it was a term used in other sports. So a play down in curling is all the teams in a particular region basically play a tournament and play down from all the teams who want to represent that region. Usually it's a province, and play down until there's one team left to represent the region. So the idea for this was we would play down from all the strategies. Oh, that's all right. I think we're back from the ad break. So yeah, it doesn't matter which team we pick here. We're gonna eventually put ourselves in charge of all the teams, but we do want to be in commissioner mode. All right. So this sim I like it's particularly easy. Excuse me. Because we don't have to mess with any of the players. We're just doing sliders, and the sliders are just choosing from a menu, and we're going to change the team names. And the team names are only for convenience. So then we'll have to keep looking at a table to see, oh, which strategy is which team using. And the only difference of how we're going to set up this time is we'll have instead of tacticians and sabermetrics in the same league and moderate versions of those in the other league, we'll do tacticians and moderate sabermetrics in one league and moderate tacticians and sabermetrics in the other. So we're just going to swap one set of teams. So I think the easiest way to do that is to change the names first. Because what happens is when you go to switch teams in here in the menus, the pull down menu is in alphabetical order. So it's not in the order of leagues and sub leagues. So in the game, Major League Baseball is the league, A and NL are the sub leagues. So you don't have that order here. So instead of having to reference back to, let's say, the standings from last year, the last sim, uh, we'll just rename this. Right now, they're just named the Average Braves and the Average Angels because that's what the Quick Start list called them. And actually, if we're gonna do this Quick Start enough, well, no, I don't want to rename them in the Quick Save because we'll probably want to change the the mix quite a bit. So it wouldn't really be a big help to change them in the Quick Save. So the way you can change a bunch of team names at the same time is just to go to game settings and league settings. And I do it under league structure, right? So here's all the team names. Okay, so now this isn't going to change our strategies, but it's just going to help remind us which team gets which strategy. So the Angels are still going to be the balanced Angels. Balance is one of the strategies. Oakland will still be the small ball athletics. Seattle will now be they were the sabermetric Mariners. Now they'll be the moderate sabermetric Mariners. And Texas will remain the tactician Rangers. Okay, and that means Atlanta. Hold on, I'm looking at screenshots from the last season just to make sure I do this right. Okay, Atlanta will be. They will still be the traditional Braves. Traditional is one of the strategies. New York will be the moderate small ball Mets, which is unfortunate because that looks like one of the worst strategies. Philadelphia will now be, we move moderate to Seattle, so they will be the regular sabermetric Phillies. And Washington will still be the moderate tacticians. Nations. Moderate tactician nations. Okay, great. So now when I go to change each team's strategy, oh, see how it hasn't changed yet? Let's just go into manager options or some other screen. And now, oh, wait a second. Oh, you know what it is? Once we go to click on it, it'll change. Yeah, see now it's traditional. Now everything's updated. Okay. So we can just go in order now because the team name gives us the strategy we should select. So Atlanta is going to be the traditional Braves. So here's a traditional slider set, right? Pretty flat down the middle. Now the Los Angeles team is the balanced Angels. See, if you are on a screen and use this pull down, you just stay in the same screen, but just change team views. So New York is the moderate small ball Mets. I go through. Yep. Okay, Oakland is the small ball Athletics. And then Philadelphia is the sabermetric Phillies. Seattle is now the moderate sabermetric Phillies. Texas is the tactician Rangers. And Washington is the moderate tactician Rangers. Okay, so that's it. I think we're ready to go. Let's just save the game in case something happens. So yeah, all we did was change the names, change the sliders. Everything else about the teams is still the same and completely standardized across the league. So it should be the case that, and oh, and also just to make sure things stay the same, we've turned off coaching. That was a big discovery after the second sim that it seemed like coaching might be making a big difference. As always, we've turned off injuries because we don't want to have to use a reserve roster. We've disabled player development. That was a big one too. We didn't want, because player development has some randomness to it. And we didn't want players developing in random fashion. And rather than risk that, we just turned development off completely. And just as a backup, I turned the development multipliers to 0. This is a fun screen to play with if you play the base game. You can make your rookies develop faster. You can make your veterans decline slower, or you can do the reverse. But it is a fun thing to play with. Our scouting is turned off because we wanted to know exactly what was happening with the players. So if their attributes change at all, we will see it because our scouting is 100% accurate. It, I mean, this is one of the things that confused me when I first started playing OTP, but turning scouting off gives you full scouting visibility. It kind of seems backwards at first, but what it's saying is like if you're using scouting, then you're using all the uncertainty that comes with imperfect scouting. If you turn scouting off, all you have is their true attributes. So that's how I would kind of remind myself how it works. So yeah, coaching was a big thing. The stadiums were big. Or was that? It's under. Oh, I think for the stadiums you have to go to each team. Team settings. Yeah, here's their ballpark factors. You see, they're all one. I just went through every team and made their ballpark factors one. One thing that I didn't change is their capacity is different. I don't think that matters, but I'm a little surprised I didn't change that. Um, anyway, I'm not too worried about it right now. Okay, so let's run this back. Uh, Before we do, I'm going to take I save screenshots of most things in the Sims. Let me take a screenshot of last night's standings and sure, I'm going to create a new page. Hold on a second. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, and we're going to paste in. These are the standings from last night, and let's crop it to just include the important parts. Oh, what happened there? That was weird. I don't know what happened there, but it's back, so no harm, no foul. Okay, so these are the standings from last night. So we can, when we get our standings tonight, we'll just compare them to what we had. Okay. Now, in an interesting experiment, we ran the totally neutral league just as is, right? So everyone's exactly the same. We didn't change strategies or anything. Everything was still the same. Um, and of course, because of RNG issues and just because of natural variance, right? You don't get every team finishing 81 and 81. But it was interesting to see, like, you do get MVPs, you do get, um, I think someone even came close to winning a triple crown. Now, we did that before we fully standardized everything. And so I think what was happening there was when you have a league that's almost exactly identical in average, the base game, if it detects even a single difference, it will blow that difference up because it's the only thing that's different. It, instead of being a little different, it says, okay, this is the other end of the range. And so it will make it the maximum. And so if you have only one player with a little bit of home run power, that player will be like Barry Bonds or Babe Ruth because it's the only player with differentiating power. It's one of the quirks of the game. And it's good to understand this quirk so that when we do these experiments or do these fun sims we do, we can anticipate and hopefully correct for issues that might ruin our sim or at least make it not behave the way we want it to. in advance. All right, so let's sum this out. Oh, speaking of which, we are doing a special daytime stream of the Franchise Time Machine on Friday. And in that, we're going to here, let me we're going to present the results of our recent League Full of Babe Ruth sim, which we use to show one of the key ways the base game works. And it works that way for a reason. And that reason is mostly for league play and standard like historical simulation um, realisticness, I guess. But it also gets in the way and kind of ruins things if you want to do the weird kinds of sims that we do. So I think there's like maybe a few parts of that stream on Friday. Is to show that this issue exists and what it looks like. Uh, because people talk about it, but I don't think many people have gone out of their way to like demonstrate it in a way that people can understand. So we'll demonstrate it and then explain kind of why it happens and show what's causing it. And then we'll explain how you can prevent it from happening so your Sims will run the way you want to. I don't know how many people play the base game the way we do on Franchise Time Machine, but for anyone who does, I think this is a really helpful set of information that will help people understand what the base game is doing when you're doing sims like this and how you can get that to work for you or how you can work around it if it's going to be a problem. So I think we learned a ton about this. I call it an issue, but really it's just a mechanism. It's how the game works. It's only an issue because I'm doing weird stuff and I don't want my weird stuff to get messed up by this mechanism. But really, it's just the way, it's one of the ways that the game has been designed to work. And I'm sure for like 90%, maybe 99% of users, it works just fine. It actually works better um, because they want some sort of historical realism or fidelity. It's just for weirdos like us who want to do these kind of wacko experiments that it's going to matter. But as part of that, if you want to help me out, one way you could help me out would be if you could fill out this survey for me. Let me find the link. It's only 2 questions long. I'm putting it in the chat. And if it just asks you, what do you think is going to happen when we create a league of only Babe Ruths? How many home runs will the league leading Babe Ruth hit in 2023? And what will be the batting average of the league leading Babe Ruth in batting average? And I give you some information like we're using 1927 Babe Ruth. All the pitchers in the league are year 2000 Jose Limas. And so for the home run question, I gave you information on how many home runs Babe Ruth hit in 1927, how many home runs Jose Lima gave up in 2000. And then for batting average, I do similar. I tell you what Babe Ruth hit 1927 and what opponent batting average Jose Lima gave up. Just giving you a couple data points to help inform your guess. And then we'll talk about those results to kind of tee up the conversation on Friday. And if other people react the way I do when I started learning about this, it will blow people's minds. Um, and I'm not saying that because I think my content is great. I'm saying that because when I saw it happen, it blew my mind. And so I don't think I'm that different from the, well, okay, I am different from the average OT player in that I do crazy stuff, but I don't think my view of the game is that different from the average OTP player, right? Like I like historical baseball stats. I like historical accuracy in my sims. I like bringing together people from different eras. I just think maybe like I go to extremes when I do it. But I think we all want the same things. We want our sims to be historically accurate, or at least feel historically accurate. So anyway, that's for Friday. But that survey, please fill it out if you can. It would help me out a lot. The more data points I have, I think the more meaningful it will be when I show kind of what happens. All right, so let's run the sim. 2023 starts at the end of March. So we're going to run a month, but it will only take us to the end of March. So it'll just give us a couple games to get started here. And I think tonight most people are working or AFK. So last night in chat, I asked everyone to guess which strategy would dominate. If anyone's around, please feel free to put your guess in the chat. But seems pretty quiet tonight. So I think everyone's just collecting their drops, and that's fine. That's why I'm here. That's why I got affiliate status, is to help you all get your drops. Uh, and sorry, it may sound, I didn't mean to sound snarky when I said that. I meant no shade in that. I literally wanted to just do something for the community and give people late night drops. I don't yeah, so that was actually meant to be sincere. I did do this for you guys. So all right, let's run the next month. This is where I think we'll really start to see some differences. Now, one thing that was pretty telling about last night's sim is it wasn't like sabermetric and tradition tactical tactician went to the top and stayed there. They were bouncing around quite a bit, which is another reason why I don't think we can draw too much significance from that one data set. If we had stopped it at any point in the season, it might have been a uh, different pair of winners in each league. There was that much moving around. So 1 month in, we do have sabermetric and traditional leading the National League, but in the American League, it's sabermetric and small ball. Now this is interesting. It's still early in the season, but last season or last sim, sorry, sometimes I call sim seasons, but last sim, I think where there may be an underlying issue with uh, our our uh, our sandbox, because let's recall last season the National League had much more spread between first and last place than the American League. Now that shouldn't, if you take out strategy, all these teams are identical, so there should be no spread theoretically. RNG will create some spread. Sorry, RNG is random number generator. Just the by virtue of having a random number generator at the heart of the simulation, you will have some variance. But if this trend continues and the National League continues to have much wider spread than the American League, yes, it could be because of strategies and the way they're assigned. But remember, we did flip flop one of the strategies. It might be that there's an underlying issue that's making the National League American League not as standardized and identical as we think. It could be a variable that we missed that we didn't standardize, or this would be the worst case because then there's nothing we can do about it. It could be a hidden variable. And by that I mean my understanding is in previous versions of Perfect Team, for example, PBABIP was not disaggregated. And so if all you saw was movement, you would have these weird statistical differences that you couldn't explain until PT24, when movement was disaggregated to home run suppression and pitcher BABIP. Once you have that, now you start to understand, oh, that's why this pitcher is better than this other pitcher. Because at least in PT24, PBABIP matters a lot. This guy has lots of PBABIP. This other guy has high movement, but it's not in PBABIP. So there could be like a hidden variable that's we didn't standardize. It's causing the AL, the NL to react differently. But we're only 1 month in, so I'm just speculating just because I like this is noteworthy to me. Everyone else is around 500. Why do we have one team that's 267 and one team that's 633? I mean, again, it could be natural variance, but it is suspicious that it's The National League 2 times in a row. Again, it's early though, so let's do another month. Okay, and in that additional month, things did tighten up a little bit. Like in the National League, the win percentages narrowed a little. Right now it's 593 to 407. It remains 11 games behind instead of spreading, but the AL is still tighter than the NL. And frankly, if you look at the games behind, it's really just the small ball Mets. So I wonder if we need to crack open the Mets after this sim and figure out if there's something we forgot to standardize. It could be just as simple as I forgot to type in something, or instead of 400, I typed in 40. Um, but let's keep running the sim and see if this issue persists. Okay, these in a lot of the sims, these achievements are meaningful. In this case, they're not really. Okay, again, this is the one team that's. Oh no, that's not true now. The moderate tacticians have now fallen 13 behind. Okay, this is really throwing our initial conclusions out the window, which is fine because they were based on one sim. We knew they might go out the window. Small ball has jumped up in the American League, and traditional in the NL is now in first place. But I did say last sim too, if we had stopped at random places during the year, we would have had very different standings. So let's just see what happens as we continue going. Okay. Now all that's happening is someone has to be the All-Star MVP, right? And so someone is, but they're all average. Oh, this is interesting. Here's the highest All-Star vote getter. Let's see what this player is about. Average catcher 2 on Texas. Um, okay, they're leading the league in All-Star votes, but they're hitting 278 with 19 home runs. I mean, this is a pretty. Oh, sorry, that's their projection. They're hitting 278 with 13 home runs. It's still in the range of average. But we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Let's keep an eye on average catcher 2 on Texas. Traditional is still hanging in there. And actually, traditional and sabermetric are way ahead of the rest of the league. Okay, and in the AL, small ball is still in the lead, although there's only 2 games separating the top three. So any placement within the top three, I would say, is not significant. But in the National League, again, much bigger spread, and the top two are pretty significantly separated from the bottom two. Okay, we're actually this is actually pretty close to the end of the season, and I'm shocked that traditional is doing so well. All right, let's see what happens. And again, the fact that we're playing 162 games is kind of arbitrary. It's the length of a major league season, but there's nothing that says like it's not like an end value where we reach statistical significance. It's just 162 games. Like we could run it for 1,000 games. In fact, we could make each season 1,000 games long if we wanted to. I don't know that it's going to have a meaningful impact on what we find. It's ending it at 162 is as arbitrary as ending it at 81 or 154, right? It's whatever we happen to choose. All right, let's do one more month. I think 1 month will take it. Let's do it at the end of the regular season. Well, now traditional Braves have just run away with it. They took the lead from 5 games to 13 games in the month of September. And now small ball is number one in the AL. Go figure. I'll have to figure out a way to compile these across sims. Is it like, do you get points for being first, second, third, and fourth? Or do we just add their win loss records? This is now pushing me towards a different hypothesis. Now, my hypothesis is strategy is almost. Now, again, this is a hypothesis. It could be completely off. Um, I think we're on an ad break. All right. Ads are over. I am back. Sorry for that delay. Had to get some water, take a bio break. I'm streaming from the basement, so all that stuff is a little further away than I'm used to. So, um, yeah, so I think we're one game away from the end of the season. We've simmed to the end of the season. So, just if you're new to the base game, if you sim to a date, it basically sims you to the morning of that day. So it hasn't simmed that day. So you, you still need to finish the day. So you'll see here, like we have 161 games in our record instead of 162. So they brought us to the last day of the season, but not to the end of the last day of the season. So we'll just go ahead and sim this and get to the end of the regular season. Again, someone has to win the ERA crown. But what's interesting is now it's not like they're totally independent variables, right? If you win the ERA crown, as imperfect of a stat it is, you're probably a little more likely to win more games, right, than an average pitcher. And so, just by virtue of chance and random number generator, you can have one player happen to be better at ERA, as a result, they might end up with more wins, right? They're not completely independent. Um, and this is interesting too. Oh, these are in different leagues. Right? This is a problem with normally I would put their team name as part of their player name, so we don't. So right now it's like this could be any infielder one and infielder three. So yeah. Anyway, can't really learn too much from those achievements in this kind of sim, but the only thing so far consistent between the two sims is that the National League has more spread in the standings than the American League. As far as who finishes first, completely different. Who finishes second? I mean, I was going to say Sabermetric is yet to finish last, right? We can't say that now about Tactician now because Tactician has finished last. And Small Ball, well, no, we can't say Small Ball has never won because Oakland Small Ball won the AL. So now we have two sets of results that look completely different from each other. So I think there's two most likely things that are happening. The first is strategy doesn't really matter. And when all the teams are the same, they're going to kind of, it's all going to be up to chance. Now, the way to show that is we would do this a bunch more times and we find that there's no commonality or trend to like who finishes first or who finishes last. Or the other thing that could be that two sims is still too small of a sample size, which I 100% guarantee you it is. I don't know what number would be statistically significant in this. It could be hundreds, it could be thousands. Like I said before, if I were doing this in my previous or one of my previous jobs, I would have done it n equals 10,000. Even then, I wouldn't say we were done. I would say let's run it n equals 10,000 and see where we are. And we're at two, right? So that's pretty far away from 10,000 or even 100. So I think the thing to do is take a screenshot of this, right? This is our second attempt at this. We'll still play out the playoffs. Here's something interesting that we've learned last time. If you look at the stats, right? Again, these look pretty average, so I'm not too concerned. Um, but if you look at the team statistics, right? This is a place where you could see differences because for things like home runs and doubles and hits and batting average, things are just kind of inherent to the ability of the player. You wouldn't expect strategy to have a big impact on that. But things like runs, stolen bases, caught stealing, things that are more that can be more driven by decisions, you would expect to see some more variance and more correlation based on the strategy. Now, I don't know what that correlation would necessarily be, but for example, with small ball, I would certainly expect to see more stolen bases and sacrifice hits, right? So sacrifice hits, 22, the only team in the AL more than 20. Um, Oakland is the small ball team, right? Stolen bases, 167, way more than the next place at 138. Small ball team. Seattle only 87 stolen bases. That's probably sabermetrics. Moderate sabermetrics. They're the only sabermetric team in the league. Even fewer, 71. Philadelphia, probably sabermetrics. Philadelphia sabermetric, right? So you can expect certain things to change based on strategy that are decision based. Whether you steal or not is a decision. Whether you hit a home run or not, that's a lot less decision based. That's more ability based. And the ability of these players should be identical. But if we do see a difference in home runs, then I would be suspicious. Okay, why does Texas have 237 home runs? That's significantly more than the last place team with 194. Tacticians in small ball. Okay, well, small ball potentially you could not be hitting as many home runs because you're doing things like bunting or hit and run, or if you run a lot, you're potentially running yourself out of innings too. So maybe you don't have any chance to hit home runs. Um, which is weird because normally I think teams, small ball teams, don't hit home runs um, not because small ball tactics lead to fewer home runs, but small ball tactics, well, they do a few things. You're not going to spend money on signing home run hitters because you're a small ball team. You don't need home run hitters. Um, or you're going to run small ball because you don't have any small home run hitters. I don't think there's anything inherent to the small ball strategy that makes you hit fewer home runs, other than the things that I mentioned. But I think those are on the margins, right? Like the number of stolen bases, the number of sacrifice hits is tiny. So I don't think that's going to take away enough home run opportunities. But it looks like there's something happening here. Like this is a pretty wide spread. I would have expected if home run are like 200, I would expect all teams to be somewhere around 200. With some variance for random number generator and such. But these spreads are making me suspicious that something was not standardized. Um, yeah. Also weird to me that the highest home run team has fewer walks here. Does that hold true in the other league? No, here's the lowest walks. Okay, so that might just be a coincidence. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry about that. Our dog is not allowed in our basement, and our dog was down in the basement. I only heard him because I heard his collar shake. Shook his shook his head, so had to remind him to stay out of the basement. So yeah, there's and again, it is curious to me that two teams are hitting over 250 in the AL, and two teams are hitting under 240. And we have one team hitting 264. That's really high considering everyone should be average. All right, this is the highest batting average team in the league. They have a 300 hitter. We did not see a single 300 hitter in our previous sim. Are his okay? This is average catcher 2 on the Braves. Let's look at his ratings. Make sure they didn't change. Okay, he has a 3.5 star rating, overall rating, which is weird. Let's look at him in editor and make sure he's still all 400s. Yeah, he's all 400s. His expected stat line is 257, 330, and 441. And instead, he's at 309, 380, and 465. Now, is it possible that it's just RNG? Like it must be, because if it was development, these numbers should have changed and they didn't. Now, let me look around and see, like, is there anything different about this guy? We also turned off the impact of personality, just in case that had anything to do with it. There is nothing about this guy that seems like it would lead to being the only person in the league hitting 300. I mean, that's how average this league is. No one hit over 280. And so, in that circumstance, for one guy to hit 309, I think is probably like if you looked at standard deviations, I mean, the distribution is so tight in this league. For one person to hit 309, it's probably not that different from in a major league distribution someone hitting 400 because the distribution of the league is so tight because in the major leagues everyone is certainly not average. You have your Mario Mendozas and your Babe Ruths. In this league, everyone's identical. So to have one person pop up and hit 309 is probably as unexpected as someone in the majors hitting 400. And I'm not seeing anything that would lead to this player hitting that much better than everyone else. I was wondering if there's something in the bio section, but we turned personality off. Height and weights are all the same. I don't see anything in here. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but let me check pitching ratings. Could something in the pitching ratings for a batter make them bat differently? I don't think so. Again, scouting's turned off, so these numbers are 100% accurate. I don't see anything in here that would lead to this person hitting that much better than everybody else. I mean, could it just be a fluke? Across 2 seasons, we only had one hit 300. If it doesn't happen again, then I think, yeah, maybe we chalk it up to a fluke. But if one person keeps hitting 300 and everyone else hits below 280, then I'm going to be suspicious. Yeah, I don't know what might have happened here. I don't see anything that indicates anything that should be different. Okay, but let me screenshot the stats pages just in case. Now, I will say the leading home run hitter hit more home runs than the last sim. Oh, here's a example of my prestidigitation. There's one team, one player had 40 saves. I When I look at their team, it is going to be running a traditional strategy. It's Atlanta Traditional Braves. Thank you very much. I think running a bullpen with a closer who gets all the saves is definitely a traditional strategy move. That's the one thing I can reliably predict each time we do this. I did it last time, it worked out again this time. I don't see any reason it would change from sim to sim. When there's that one team that has one player with lots of saves, that's a traditional strategy team. Okay, nothing else jumping out at me. So let's sim it one more time. If the results are again as I'm not going to say random, but as inconsistent as last time, I'm really going to start to suspect that this strategy does not have a meaningful impact on team performance. And if that's the case, that potentially has implications on perfect team too, because the simulation engines aren't the same, but they're probably very similar. Um, but that's not to say, to me, the biggest um, factor in the strategy section is the fatigue management over here. So what we could be finding is that what you do with the sliders over here doesn't matter, but I still think there's lots of importance in the sliders, especially this fatigue section. And that doesn't seem to change based on any of these strategies. None of them are doing anything with strategy or with the fatigue settings. Yeah, it's all slider based. Okay, so let's run the playoffs at least and see who the champion is. Now, playoffs are even a smaller sample size than the regular season, so let's take it with a grain of salt. But I think it's interesting to see what happens. Okay, so small ball and traditional advance. Again, small ball was dead last in both leagues last sim. And nothing has changed. All the players still average. We started a new quick start, so it's not even like they have 1 year of experience. No, this is like a complete restart. And so it is very odd to me that a last place strategy from the previous sim is now potentially going to win the championship in this sim. Sweep. Okay, one minor thing I'm wondering is did I assign them the right strategy? Right? It's a small ball athletics. Is this a small ball strat? Yeah, it looks like it is. Lots of stealing, lots of. Yeah, no, it was right. Man, so different from the last sim. And I don't think I did any more standardization from the previous sim to this sim. So this is wacky. I can't wait now to see what the next one does. We're gonna do it one more time real fast here. So this is strategy play down. Is it play downs or play down? Let me go to load game real quick just to see. Strategy play down. Okay. Because in curling, there's some people call them play you play down, but you play in play downs. So a strategy play down 3 is what we're about to load here from the quick start. We're using number 4 as a starting point. Okay. I have no idea what's going to happen at this point. The first two were so different. Am I surprised that there's a chance that strategy settings don't matter? I mean, if I weren't surprised, I wouldn't bother setting them every time I do a draft tournament, right? Hold on. Okay, bear with me here. I think I have to do a shoot. I guess I have to start this. Okay, let me get it started. Okay, I have a draft tournament that's gonna fire soon, so I think I need to. I'm gonna I'm gonna do the draft on stream real quick. I try not to do this because you know, perfect team is not my thing for streaming. There are other streamers who are much better at doing perfect stuff on stream. But let me just log in. Let me knock out this draft, and then we'll jump back into it. Because I don't think Max LP80 is going to follow us tonight. I think he's working tomorrow morning. So, but he will be streaming tomorrow night. Um, so the account I'm going into for this draft is this is one of my theme team accounts, and it's the overnight. Now, here's a if you have multiple licenses, you can enter the same tournament twice, once for each license. License is what when you pay for the game. With each paid license, you can have 3 accounts. So that's the difference between accounts and licenses. So if you go to your tournaments, you can go to this tournament that's about to fire, right? This overnight non-live speed draft is going to fire in 14 minutes. And I can see if any of my other alts are also signed up for it. So I'm looking for Franchise Time Machine, Low Diamond Phillips, and Tampico Stogies. Okay, good. So I think I just have this one team sign up for. So yeah, if you'll bear with me, this will just take 5 minutes. Um, you can entertain yourself by watching how bad you think I am at drafting. And I'm not great at it. Like I qualified 3 teams in draft dailies a couple of PTCS cycles ago, only one draft daily last cycle and none this cycle. But I am good at tournaments. I qualified 2 iron, 2 bronze, and 2 silver teams in each of the last last 3 PTCSs. So I will say I'm good at tournaments, especially at those levels, especially when you don't need combinators. So I'm really good at live tournaments, but I am not good at draft tournaments. So I will say that right off the bat. Oh, this is a 7 minute draft. That's leisurely compared to the 5 minute. I don't like to go pitcher first round, really, but Code Ramsey is so much better, I think, than these other cards. Maybe not this Jimmy Collins. All right, let's go. I don't go pitcher first round, but I am tonight for some reason. You can all see the power creep in these cards. Like these older cards, they're just not up to snuff compared. Like this Carlos Gonzalez isn't even a great newer card, but because it's newer, the power creep already has it. I feel like ahead of these other cards. Who trying to ball? What's going on? I have to take a quick break from my neutral league experiment to knock out this draft. So if you'll give me 4 minutes, we'll take you right back to the experiment we're doing, which I think is interesting. We're checking out the effect of we're seeing if any of the strategy presets dominates the others. So we created a perfectly neutral league. You like drafts? Oh, okay. Well, feel free to make fun of my drafting. I have not been drafting well in PT 25. I will say I was legit better at this in PT 24. I think part of it is like my brain has just not accepted whatever changes have occurred between PT 24 and PT 25. In fact, I'm getting worse because 2 cycles ago I qualified for three of my teams qualified for daily draft, and last cycle I only had one qualify, and this cycle I had none qualify. You're the same who trying to ball? Oh, that's interesting because I thought you were for some reason I thought you were one of the better draft tournament dudes. Oh, you were also way better in 24. Yeah. Whatever changed, my brain just has not accepted it. It baffles me. I need to win this draft. Baffled. Haven't you just heard me talking about just playing down my draft ability? I'm gonna lose this draft. Is what I've been saying. But I will say, you put me in a live tournament, and I've got way more than a puncher's chance because there's no combinators. It's all about roster building and lineups and strategy. I have been winning and doing well in live tournaments for sure. So I will. I mean, I don't feel like I'm bragging because I'm telling you flat out I suck at draft tournaments, but I will say I'm good at live tournaments. You do okay sometimes, but it's more miss than hit. Yeah. Let's get the win. Well, I am excited that there are no combinator tournaments now, and I just did my lineups for a couple of no combinator tournaments. And if I don't do well in those, then I will have to reevaluate my self image because the whole time I've been saying, hey, I'm doing good in the live tournaments because there's no combinators. If I can get a non combinator, non live tournament, I can do well. But if it turns out that's not true, then I have to reevaluate myself. Okay, here's the thing I do around round 11 or 10 is I let the AI fill my lineup, and then I look at this depth chart and, oh, shoot, I need a third baseman, a shortstop, and a center fielder. Okay. Well, here's a center fielder I can take. Center field 100. But let me make sure there aren't two pitchers I want to take because I know I like this John Richardson card. And I want to take Wally Joyner, but I already have Mo Vaughn at first base. Is this a DH? There is no DH. All right, so we're going to go center fielder. Geechie's going to fill a lot of those lineup holes. He can't fill two, though, so let me see. I still need a shortstop. I need a backup shortstop and a starting third baseman. Geechee does play third, right? Yeah, not well, but he plays it. Now, Noisy plays it better, and I need a backup catcher. Perfect. The problem is then I'm not getting to take Von Hayes, which is a bummer. Or Red Lucas, who's a decent starter. Well, I only need one more pitcher, so that can wait. Want to take Von Hayes. Okay, take the needs. Okay. All right, I need a pitcher, available bat. Mm, it's tough taking iron level pitchers. They're never very good. Okay, Brainerd, and I think the best bat's probably going to be this Langford against righties. Oh man, there's only like a few hitters on this whole page. Oh, I could go righty first baseman to platoon with Mo Vaughn. Oh, did ads happen during my draft? That's a bummer. Oh, this is around to get to pick 5. Okay, I only need one more pitcher, so okay, platoon with Mo Vaughn. Infield backup. And I already have 12 pitchers, so backup center fielder. When in doubt, choose Tigers. Especially in iron, right? Let's see. There's no DH, so I'm going to use that strategy. And ooh, I got a lot of lefties in the bullpen. That was not planned. Okay, Jim Abbott. I'm trying to see who has. Okay, Larry French, 84 stamina, not too splitty. I'm trying to decide if it's worth taking Max Meyer or Jim Needlinger out of the. Okay, Needlinger's only got 55 stuff. And so let's give him the bullpen boost. Let's take Larry French down a bit. Now we have another righty in the pen. Perfect. And I'm a big stopper guy, so who's my left-handed stopper? Now I'm not a big modeler, so I can't say for sure this has been working, but like I said, I've been successful in live and non-combinator tournaments. And so I think this stopper closer thing it's been working for me. Arnie Stone's gonna be set up. John Richardson's gonna be set up. And who's my Jim Abbott's middle relief? Oh, I could put one of these on top at closer. Britt Burns or Arnie Stone? Arnie Stone. Britt Burns. I actually like Arnie Stone better. Okay. So yeah, all this is designed to not let the AI screw up my pitching. And also, apparently, the AI, if it's in a closer situation and you only have one identified closer, it will keep rolling out that closer even though they're fatigued. Now, I don't know what happens and that bumps up against this fatigue setting in the strategy. I got a Dotel. Oh, do I have a Dotel? Um, Probably not. You see this 664 packs? I'm so far behind on pack openings that I don't have many good cards. So I do not have a Dotel for sale. Oh, it's tournament edition? Then I do. Oh, you know what? Well, hold on. Let me finish this and then let me look in my card. I will tell you if I have a Dotel or not. Do you need it for a mission? Please, OTP, fix this. Make us not have to click this thing 13, 12, 13 times per draft. Aggressive tiredness hook. Choice back. That and you just want to use it. Okay, let me see what I got. Is he, what level is he? Is he gold or diamond? Oh, high diamond? I probably don't have him then, but I will look for you. Oh man, Matt Holly only plays left field. Oh, that's a bummer. And why isn't Carlos Gonzalez? Oh, he is starting. Oh, in center field. Interesting. Oh, that's why it has Frank Duncan playing right field. I don't have any right fielders. Is that right? Well, that's messed up. Okay, you know what? Let's just roll with the AI lineup. I'm excited to get back to that sim. But first, let's look up for who trying to ball. If I have that card or not. Yeah, no, who trying to ball? No problem. I'm gonna look for you real quick. I probably don't though. Like I said, I'm so far behind on my pack openings that you know what? I should just look by name. I'll look for Dotel. I do not have a Dotel. Oh, I'm in the middle. I can't look to see. I was going to see how many high diamond. Oh, wait, this is a high diamond pack. Well, Dotel is not one of my choices. So I can't even grab one for you here. I was in the middle of choosing, and I must have abandoned it. Man, the Riho's going for 41,000? Is he that good? Oh, I remember why I stopped. I was going to look to see if anyone had mispronounced any of these players. You know what? It's the most expensive card, and it's the most likely to have been mispronounced, so I'm going to just pick Riho here. But I did not have a Dotel in there. Oh, here, let's go to the shop and find out what level is Dotel. He is a high. You're right. He is a high diamond. All right. Do I have any more high diamond packs left? Oh yeah. What was his L10? Yeah, he's a 99. L10 40,510. Okay. Let's. Yeah, he is 40K now. No. Someone says with all the choice packs I have and all the other packs you have, you could pull easy money in for whatever you wanted. Uh, that might be true. I just don't have what I want. What I need is time. If I didn't stream, I would have more time to do all stuff. Yeah, I only have low diamond. I don't have a high diamond. So, at least from this account, I cannot help you. Oh, that tournament batch 1+2 card, that's the one I got from a live tournament. I already won a live tournament. So it's a new Okay, let's run this sim number 3. And this is again a bit of a tiebreaker. The first two sims are all over the place in terms of which strategy won out. So I think if this starts to show any kind of pattern of like a repeat win, then then maybe we're on the path of like there is some sort of dominant strategy. But if this one is also continues like the randomness, then I actually am going to question whether strategy matters. I mean, it's a weird thing to say because of course we think it matters because we set our sliders all the time. But I mean, 3 is a small sample size, but that would be where I start heading if the next round is also not that different. Okay, so last time we brought moderate sabermetric over to the AL. So this time let's bring moderate tactician over to the AL. So Atlanta is still going to be traditional. Oh yeah, so I like the way we did this last time. We changed the names first because then that's a nice reminder of like which strategy we're going to use for that team. So that worked out really well. So Atlanta will still be the traditional Braves. The Mets will still be the small ball Mets, which sucks because, well, I was going to say it's the worst strategy, but that's not quite true. Oakland showed that small ball can win. And then Philadelphia. All right, now Philadelphia is going to be moderate sabermetric. and Washington will just be Tactician Phillies or Tactician Nationals. Let me just make sure I did that right. Sorry, who trying to ball? You're in a toss up trying to sell your future legend Evan Carter or complete the mission for two shitty diamond packs. And the same if the Rockies mission and Larry Walker both worth about 30K or two diamond packs each. And those missions don't unlock other missions. They're just like the end of a mission thread. Because at least towards the end of the cycle in PT24, there are a bunch of those missions that then would unlock other missions, even though they only gave you like a diamond pack or something. I'm probably not the right person to ask this. My league play is terrible because I've been just neglecting my league team even more than I've been neglecting my packs. Okay, so the first time everything moderate was national, that's what it was. So if moderate sabermetric went over last time, this time moderate tactician. Yeah, this is right. This is right. So then in the AL, Los Angeles will still be balanced angels. No, no, no. Hey, no, no. No, no. I'm not trying to say you should shut up your problem. First of all, other people in the chat may have opinions for you. I just don't think I have a helpful opinion for you because I should probably be asking you how to make decisions for my league team, not the other way around. I just neglect my league team. Small ball athletics. Yeah, no, I actually like it when I see people in chat helping each other out. I think that's part of the fun of doing streams. Seattle is sabermetric Mariners this time. And now Texas is going to be moderate tactician. Yep, moderate. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we just have to click on one of these. Oh, where's Max LP to you and Max should be giving each other a hard time if there's a Tigers Mariners game. I think he might work in the morning, so he might actually be asleep right now. I know. I guess he doesn't stream until Wednesday night. So strategy page. Okay, this is the traditional Braves. Okay, Los Angeles is balanced. You'll talk shit when you win again tomorrow. What's the pitching matchup tomorrow? The Tigers Mariners pitching matchup. Oh, Scoobs. How come the Scooble card is so bad in PT25? The historic. Oakland. Wait a second. How do we have two small balls? That can't be right. Oh, New York's supposed to be moderate small ball. See, I caught that. I caught that. Okay. So this is the actual game. What do you mean, Baffle? Oh yeah, this is what we call the base game. this this is what that guy Italics has been playing, but he didn't play for hours. He spent like multiple streams just setting up his save, which is great. Like I like that he's putting that much thought into it. It's just funny that like he's so committed that he put all that time into it before even simming a single pitch. Yeah, Baffle, this will be a weird intro to you to the base game because I do all kinds of weird stuff in the base game that most people wouldn't do. So, for example, tonight I made a league of entirely average players. Like every rating is the middle of the road rating, so that then I can do different experiments to see like what changing one of those things away from average does. So Seattle is sabermetrics, and what we're testing out tonight is each team is getting one of the different strategy presets. And it's that's the only thing different about the